The weight loss made me feel better about myself. And I know that's complicated because it means my confidence was deeply tied to my size. And that's a hard thing to sit with when you know intellectually that your worth has nothing to do with your body. But knowing something and feeling something are two different things. And I'm still doing the work to close that gap. Because, it's not easy at all. It's a challenge, it's a struggle that needs constant work. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Kathy the Panda podcast. I'm your host, Kathy, your friendly neighborhood bipolar girl just finding her way through life. And if you're new here, welcome. You picked a good episode to start with because today we are getting into something really personal, something I've been wanting to talk about for a while but needed to find the right words for. We're talking about confidence, specifically mine, and how it's always been a little bit complicated. Now, before I dive in, I want to say something important up front. This episode is for my insecure girlies, the ones who have ever looked in the mirror and felt like they weren't enough, the ones who have been told directly or, indirectly that they needed to be different to be worthy, the ones who are still, figuring out things. This one is for you. And honestly, it's for me too, because confidence under construction is still confidence. It just looks a little different while it's being built. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to start with some context because to understand my relationship with confidence, you need to understand my relationship with my body first. I've been a bigger girl for most of my life, and I want to be clear about something right away. I'm not saying that to put myself down. I'm saying it because it's true and because it matters for this specific story. In the Philippines, where I grew up, there is a very specific beauty standard. And if you're Filipino or if you've spent any time in Filipino culture, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you had to be slim, or as they say, sexy. You had to be fair skinned. You had to have straight hair. That was the standard. That was what beautiful looked like. And if you didn't fit that mold, if you were darker or curvier or your hair had any kind of texture to it, you knew. People made sure that you knew. I ticked some of those boxes. I didn't tick others. And growing up, that gap between what I was and what I was supposed to be did a number on my confidence in ways I'm still unpacking. I used to get hair treatments religiously to straighten my hair for years. And you know what's funny? After all those years of treatments, my hair is now naturally straight. I had to curl it for this episode. And I genuinely don't know what happened. It just one day it changed. And I actually like it now, though sometimes I add curls or waves like I did today for volume and texture because straight hair can be a little flat and I like a little life in it. But the fact that I spent years chemically altering my hair just to meet a standard says a lot about how deep that conditioning goes. But the biggest one for me was always weight. And honestly, most of the times I've been fit, most of the times I've lost significant weight, it came from a really painful place. And I want to talk about three of those times specifically. So let's begin with mm, okay. The first time was after high school. So when I was in high school, it was so I actually studied in an all girls Catholic school in elementary. So I was not exposed to members of the opposite sex until I was in high school. And puberty hits and there are just so many hormones. And anyway, so I again was a bigger girl and I got bullied by a classmate of mine who actually turned out to be a popular personality in the Philippines now. But he was kind of the class clown And he would poke fun at the expense of others. Now, in this case, he poked fun at my expense. So what happened was obviously I was overweight and I had so much acne and, high school girl things. And he decided that it would be funny for him to put like this cardboard cutout of a cartoon pig in front of my face and laugh so loud that the entire class laughed along with him. And I was traumatized because, like I said, I came from an all girls school where I was also bullied, but not for being a bigger girl. For I don't know why they bullied me, but I was bullied in elementary school too. But anyway, so this guy bullied me, and I just felt so ashamed of how I looked. I felt so insecure, and I was so self-conscious. And so I made it my mission during summer of that year to lose weight. So, you know, and losing the weight after that, it did make me feel better. I won't pretend it didn't, because suddenly I fit the standard a little more. And people treated me differently, and I felt more confident, which is complicated, because it means my confidence was tied to external validation and a beauty standard I didn't even choose. But, that's the honest truth of it. And then we move on to the second time. It was because of a job. Now, I want to say, okay, let's cut to the story first. So I was working in PR representing a hotel chain, and my boss at that time, pulled me aside and essentially told me I needed to change the way I looked. She said I shouldn't wear glasses. My eyesight were my eyes were really bad, but she said to like wear contacts or something because eyeglasses weren't glamorous. And she said that I needed to wear more makeup. Mind you, I honestly don't know how to do my makeup. The most I can do is powder, eyeliner, lipstick. Sometimes I throw in a bit of eyeshadow, but that is it. Maybe a little bit of brows as well. But all these contouring and the full glam look, girl, I know nothing. So, yeah, she said I needed to wear more makeup, that I should dress differently, and that I needed to lose weight. So, she wasn't bullying me per se. Like, she was coming from a place of, I want to say love, but also, I'm not quite sure. But she was very kind to me despite that. I knew she meant well when she was giving me these pointers or suggestions. Um, but my colleagues, apparently, so the real reason she was bullying me was because she didn't like me. She didn't like me because my boss apparently favored me at that time, and she felt like I was stepping on her. Like, cuz she was the like most tenured member of the team. And when I came in, my boss was all over me. She's a girl. My boss was all over me, not sexually. But yeah, she and I became really close. She meaning my boss, and we developed this really good relationship. And this girl, let's call her Brittany. Yeah, Brittany, let's call her Brittany. So Brittany hated my guts. So did apparently two other members of the team. So there's this one gay guy, his name was Carlos. And then there's this other girl whose name was Beatrice. And all three of them apparently were being so fake to me. And well, honestly, Brittany wasn't trying to be fake. She refused to work with me. And imagine the unprofessionalism. Like, you don't like the person, so you're not going to work. I mean, I know that says more about her than it does about me, but I'm just like in awe of how petty and immature people can be. But sorry, we're moving far away from the story. So anyway, going back to my story, um, one time we had a photo shoot at one of our branches at one of our hotels, not in the flagship hotel, which is where our office was. So Carlos had requested for me to take all his things back to the flagship or to the office. And I did. And then that included his laptop, some props, and whatever. And so I took it back to the office, and then I completely forgot the full context, but I think I was trying to look for a file that was on his laptop because one of our teammates was asking for it. And so I opened his laptop to look for this file, and then I don't know, Facebook was the first thing that popped into the screen. And they were in a group chat talking shit about me and how fat I was and how my body was a waste of cloth because it needed so much to cover up my disgusting body. And they had been doodling over my photos. And I was so hurt. I know I shouldn't have been as affected as I was, but I was so hurt. I wrote up my resignation letter, put it on my boss's desk, and never showed up for work after that. And that was a very painful experience for me. Again, I want to be fair here, not with my colleagues because they were truly rude and mean to me, but my boss, I think my boss meant well. I think she genuinely believed she was helping me, but intention and impact are two different things. And the impact of being told by your employer that your face, your body, and your appearance weren't good enough for the job, that kind of stays with you. Um, yeah, and then there's the third time. And the third time was the one I'm most careful about talking about because it came from the darkest place. Now, I was really depressed. And when I say I was only eating once a day, if I was eating at all, I don't say that lightly. That was, I would say, a really painful chapter. And yes, I lost weight during that time, but there was nothing healthy or empowering about it. It was survival mode. I want to be really clear that losing weight that way is not something I'd ever recommend or romanticize. It was a byproduct of suffering. It was in no means a form of glow up. And I'm in a much better place now, but I think it's important to name that one because, honestly, because I think a lot of people have been there losing weight during a dark period and getting compliments on it. And, the dissonance of that is something nobody really talks about. So, all three times, the weight loss made me feel better about myself. And I know that's complicated because it means my confidence was deeply tied to my size. And that's a hard thing to sit with when you know intellectually that your worth has nothing to do with your body. But knowing something and feeling something are two different things. And I'm still doing the work to close that gap because, it's not easy at all. It's a challenge, it's a struggle that needs constant work. So, here's the thing though. It's not all doom and gloom because at certain points in my life, I was actually pretty confident. And I'm not totally sure where it came from, but it was there. I used to be an event host, not professionally, but I hosted my friends' birthdays, my friends' kids' birthday parties, all kinds of events. And to do that, girl, you need confidence. You need to stand up in front of a room full of people and hold their attention and be warm and engaging and keep the energy up. And I did that. I actually did that. So, somewhere in me, the confidence existed. I wasn't always buried. There were seasons where it showed up fully and I let it lead. And I think that, that's important to acknowledge as well, because sometimes when we're in a low season, we forget that the confident version of us is still in there, that, she didn't really disappear. She's just, you know, um, under construction right now. So, yeah. Um, Now I kind of want to talk about something that a lot of you probably already know about me, unless, of course, you're new here. So, this is something new that you'll find out about me. So, I love singing, like, genuinely, deeply love it. It's super therapeutic for me. It fills something up that nothing else really does. And people have been kind enough to tell me I have a nice and sweet voice, and I appreciate that more than I can say. Compliments like that, I want to be honest about this, they do matter to me. And that's not to make myself seem shallow and dependent on other people's validation. It's not because I depend on other people for my self-worth, but because sometimes a kind word from someone you respect is just genuinely uplifting and motivating. And I think there's nothing wrong with admitting that. Now, Julius would probably disagree with me on this. His take is that it shouldn't matter what other people think, that my confidence should come entirely from within and not be affected by external opinions. And I get that. I really do. And he's not wrong. I see his point in all of this. But I'm also not going to be a hypocrite about it. Like, I enjoy receiving compliments. There, I said it. When someone says something genuinely kind about me or my voice or my work, it makes me happy. It boosts my mood, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think people feel the same. Because here's the thing, not depending on others' opinions doesn't mean compliments can't feel good. Those are two different things. You can have a solid sense of self worth and still appreciate when someone says something kind. That's not weakness, that's just being human. And my girlies will understand this. I know you will, because I know you feel the same way. So, here's something I want to encourage everyone listening to do. If you see someone, let's say a friend, a family member, or even a complete stranger, and something genuinely positive crosses your mind about them, say it out loud. Tell them. You have no idea what someone is going through on any given day, and a sincere compliment could genuinely make their day. And I want to emphasize the word sincere. Like, make sure your compliments are genuine because fake compliments, people can tell. We always know. So mean what you say and say it when you mean it. Don't just say something just to say something. But here's my thing with singing. So I have never been confident singing live in front of an audience. Like, I genuinely choke. Like, my voice, I've told many people this, my voice just disappears. All the notes I hit perfectly in my room just evaporate the moment there are people watching. And so what I've always done in the past is to post covers on social media instead. Because with a recorded cover, you can do as many takes as you need. You can redo it until you find the one you're happy with. There's some sense of control. You're in control. But a live performance, there's no redo. There's no retake. You get one shot, and whatever comes out, comes out. And that terrifies me. And the thing is, I've always wanted to perform live. Like, I really have, but the courage just never seemed to be there when I needed it. And then something happened that, changed things a little. So, a friend called me up on stage one night to sing a few songs. No warning, no preparation, just, hey, come up here, you're singing. And Julius was there and he played the keys for me, which was the most supportive and beautiful thing. And in my head the whole time, all I could think about was how bad I sounded. I was so in my own head, so convinced that I was falling apart up there. And then that night, my friend sent me videos of the performance. And minus the stage presence, because I was obviously so awkward, it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty decent. And at that moment, seeing myself from the outside instead of kind of like experiencing it from the inside, it lifted something in me and it reminded me that the story I tell myself about my performance is almost never the accurate one. The inner critic is loud, but she is not always right. And then so I did something that scared me quite a bit fairly recently. So Noise Hanoi and Jambox launched something called the Summer Band Camp. They did it last year. And so this year they did it again. So the premise is you sign up, you list your instrument or indicate that you want to sing, and the organizers put you in a band with other people who registered. So it's just like, well, to us it may seem random, but they put a lot of thought into like putting artists together. So, but to me, they were I knew some of them prior to being in a band with them, but they were still kind of complete strangers to me. So, complete strangers, and then you have 3 months, no, not 3 months, 3 weeks to prepare for the showcase. So it was a 15-minute showcase in front of an audience live. I was so nervous signing up, like genuinely terrified, because this was everything I said I was scared of, packaged into one experience. But here's the thing, there's a saying that goes, if you wait until you feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. And I think that's true. I think readiness is a myth we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. The courage doesn't come before the action, it comes because of it. So, with the help of a friend, with the encouragement of a friend, I signed up anyway. And honestly, the decision was simpler than I expected. I just said to myself, if I wait for the right time, if I wait for the time when I'm ready, I'm never gonna go for it. And that moment is never going to come because that's not how it works. You don't wait until you're not scared. You do it because you're scared. That's kind of the whole point. When something scares you, that's usually the sign that it matters and that it's worth doing. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful for my friend Dots for encouraging me to sign up for the band camp. And so, when I met my bandmates, something shifted. You know how I said I was super nervous, but like they were so encouraging, so warm, and so genuinely excited to make something together, and we ended up working on a song that I actually wrote for Julius, which is honestly incredibly vulnerable because putting your own words and your own music out there is a whole different level of exposure. And I kid you not, before I sent the song to my bandmates, I listened to it. So I wrote this about 2 years ago. And I listened to it today for the first time in 2 years. Not today, I when I sent it. And I will not lie, I was cringing the entire time because the lyrics were just so cheesy. I could not. It was all cheese. But anyway, you know, it was accepted by the band. My bandmates worked their magic on it and it turned into something really special and something that I actually am genuinely proud of. So, how the summer band camp went. I honestly, during the rehearsals, I had no nerves. Like, I was super chill. I was enjoying. It was a lot of fun. And then, um, not band, but showcase day came. And during the showcase, right before our performance, my heart was pounding so fast. I was so scared. And remember how I said I choke whenever I get up in front of an audience? Well, this time wasn't any different. So I did choke. I sang at the wrong key. I messed up the songs. But I guess I wasn't too hard on myself this time. Like I didn't really beat myself up so much about it. But Julius was just like on the side looking so proud and it was so cute and I was just I don't know, a part of me felt like I didn't care that I messed up so bad even after I had listened to like the recordings. I just I don't know. I'm just like fuck it. It's already done. I can't undo it. I messed up and that's the reality of it. But the important thing is I got up on stage and conquered my fear, although it kind of conquered me too. I mean, past Kathy or Kathy from the past wouldn't have done that. So, it's still a win for me, I would say. Yeah, I would say that. So, where does all of this leave me? Honestly, still building. My confidence is not where I want it to be right now. And I think part of that is tied to where I am physically. I'm still on my health journey. I'm not at my goal yet. And sometimes the old patterns creep back in. So the ones that tie how I feel about myself to see what I see in the mirror. But here's what I know now that, I didn't always know. Confidence that only exists when you're a certain size is fragile. It's borrowed, it's conditional, and it will always be at the mercy of external things, your weight, other people's opinions, whether or not you got a compliment today. The confidence I'm trying to build now is different. It's slower, it's quieter, it doesn't depend on fitting a standard. It's built from things like signing up for summer band camp, even if I was terrified, or like recording a video podcast because I finally feel good in my skin, like sharing stories on this podcast that I was never sure I was brave enough to share. That's kind of like the confidence that I'm after. The kind that doesn't need perfect conditions to show up. And, I'm not there yet, but I'm under construction, and that's enough for now. Yeah. So if you're one of my insecure girlies listening to this, I see you. I really do. Because I am you. And I want you to know that confidence under construction is still confidence. The building process counts. The showing up when you're scared counts. The deciding to try even when you don't feel ready counts. You don't have to have it all together to be worthy of taking up space. You never did. So before I go, if you haven't already, please follow the podcast so you never miss an episode and leave a 5-star rating if you're enjoying the show. It just means more than you know and it helps more people find us. So drop a comment too. Tell me where you are in your own confidence journey. Are you under construction too? Let's talk about it. So, yeah, that's a wrap on this one. Until then, sending love, life, and hope your way. Bye.